Like every college student, I had aspirations to study abroad post-high school. But unlike every college student, I wanted to train in the performing arts. My tryst with the world of expression started very early as a child. I first walked into a dance studio at a mere age of 10 and vividly remember the feeling of discovering movement, freedom through movement. I thoroughly enjoyed being in a space that negated all notions of right and wrong. From there on, I became unstoppable. I actively started taking parts in drama clubs at school and college. I was always looking for opportunities and ways to express myself. It took me no time to realize this is exactly where I belong. Post my 12th grade examinations, I gathered the courage to actualize my dream by sharing it with my parents. Unmistakably, their first response was a no. Many negotiations later, it became more and more clear to them that I would be happy doing what I loved. So I completed my graduation in economics and left for an acting course at the Strasberg Institute in New York. While friends around me were sitting for placements and securing high pay packages, I was making a rather uncommon choice. But no matter how rare and challenging this path was going to be, it was surprisingly the only thing I was certain about. The training in itself was an extremely demanding and overwhelming experience. We would unleash our deepest and most vulnerable sides day after day. There were days that I would come home from school absolutely numb, simply tired of just dealing with emotions. But amidst all that creative exploration, I learned a few things that completely changed the way I live my life today. The first was learning to trust my impulses. As actors, we're often taught to find the character's impulse. A character's impulse is the character's first response to any given situation. It could be an action, it could be a dialogue, or it could be a change in the body language. The more specific you are, the more nuanced your performance will turn out to be. Let me give you an example. I remember playing a neurotic character in one of my scene study classes. In the middle of the scene, as I was comprehending what my co-actor was saying, I remember feeling this urge to just get up from my chair. I felt my character getting restless. So I took the risk of following this impulse in the middle of the scene. I walked straight out of the room and came back in again after a few seconds. Sure enough, my co-actor was left aghast. But that reaction made the scene more interesting. Suddenly, the stakes got really high, and the scene became more interesting, more layered for an audience to watch. Now you're probably wondering, how is this even remotely related to our real lives? Let me help you. We all have an inner voice that reacts almost immediately in any given situation. As children, we don't think twice before blurting out this impulsive thought. But as adults, we train ourselves to believe that the first thought or reaction to anything is always wrong. We invalidate it almost immediately. But why not give that impulse a chance? Sometimes our mind knows exactly what it wants. We make it believe that it doesn't. As playwright John Patrick Shanley once said, every person has an enormous effect. Call it environmental impact if you like. Where your foot falls, you leave a mark, whether you want it or not. It's a powerful thought. It simply means that every single thing we do has an impact, whether we realize it or not. And so we must be intentional with the choices we make. The next time you're faced with a complex situation, give your inner voice a chance. And when you make that choice, sit through to see where it takes you. The second thing that I learned at theatre school was learning to stop judging myself and my choices. I was often presented with characters that are very disparate from who I am as a person. So undoubtedly, my first reaction to a character like this was, she's too arrogant, she's too hysterical, she's too self-assuming. I would come up with subconscious mental labels like that. But as an actor, I had to tell myself that it's okay to play the bad person. It's absolutely okay. So I taught myself to simply remain with the inner world of the character and observe what was happening. What were the experiences or circumstances that led them to behave a certain way? And to my surprise, I always found plenty of information there for me to empathize with this character's journey. It sounds crazy, I'm aware. But just place this in your life for a minute. There are times when we hold ourselves back from doing something simply because we're too quick to judge. We judge ourselves for not having a perfect lifestyle, for not having our careers chalked out, for not making a certain amount of money, or simply for liking things that other people our age don't like. We convince ourselves that we're not good enough by comparing ourselves to others even before we have given it a shot. The next time you're faced with a situation where you feel stuck, don't feel disappointed. The third thing I learned at theatre school, and this I believe is perhaps the most important thing that I've picked up through my craft, was learning to focus on my why. As actors, we analyze a scene to understand what led the actor or the character to perform a certain way, to act a certain way, to say a particular dialogue. For us as professionals, decoding this why is literally 90% of our job done. The rest of it is simply taking this reasoning and applying it to the words that are handed to us. So similarly, when I was faced by personal or professional roadblocks, what I started doing was I just started going back to my why. I used to reflect on why am I on this journey in the first place. The next time you feel stuck, don't get disappointed for not knowing the way ahead. Just go back to the reason you began. In the greater scheme of things, your why will always be your hero. Use it as a tool to attach yourself to the process and detach yourself from the result. So when you set out on your journey to achieve something, anything, carry that why forward with you, because it'll help you cherish the little moments that happen along the way. I remember meeting an old lady at Penn Station while waiting for a delayed train one day. I was reading a play and she started conversing with me about where I came from and what I was studying. When I told her that I'm an actor, she nearly jumped off her seat with excitement. For the next few minutes, she wouldn't stop praising me for coming all the way from India just to learn. Before boarding the train, she hugged me and said, "I'm going to tell my grandchildren that I met an actor today." The entire ride back home, I had a smile plastered over my face. Allow yourself to soak in these tiny, most inexplicable moments, because they will always hold a bigger place in your heart than any of your greatest successes. As an actor, and now also as an entrepreneur, I apply these learnings on an everyday basis. whether it's my work choices, my health, or my friendships, I always begin by first acknowledging my impulse, then not judging myself for making an unconventional choice, and lastly, reminding myself of the reason behind it. After 3 years of implementing these tools, I can substantiate that they will help you take complete ownership of your life. As human beings with varied perspectives, we will often find ourselves being the only ones to do something in a large group of people. We will always find 100 reasons to believe that something won't work out. But sometimes, even one strong reason makes it worth taking that risk. Go after that reason and see where it takes you. And if people around you don't seem to have the courage that you do, then walk alone. These are just 3 among the many things that I have picked up over years of creative living. Now, it's not possible for everyone to take up the arts professionally, but I truly believe that incorporating some kind of an expressive activity in your routine will undoubtedly transform you. It could be as simple as journaling, taking a dance class, or just translating your thoughts on paper with paint. Sometimes all we need is an opportunity to step away from the ordinary and amplify our existence. So I urge you to go out there and pick anything, absolutely anything that resonates with you. Use art as a medium to make space for questions, for paradoxes, or perhaps just simple joys in your life. Thank you.